So thank you for joining this session. So we have selected some of our clients' close relations to create an event on the topic of Metaverse and healthcare application. We did some research, we worked, you will see Stephane, Anthony that are presenting with me today are, have put some time and efforts to deep dive into some of the different metaverses or applications in the healthcare sector. So we will try to make these sessions as I would say interesting as possible by sharing experiences. In order to start, I will let Stephane to jump on an early topic. So let me move the slides. Here you are.
So we selected that quote from Gabe Newell, the president of Valve Corporation. Most of the people talking about the metaverse have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. He gave an interview and he's upset, being from the computer game industry and having solved a lot of problems that the metaverses have today. Also having pretty bad experience with cryptocurrency. He made it obvious that that's a lot of the talk and a lot of the discussion on metaverse are pretty much just repeating what people have heard and just repeating what people have said. So I hope we will escape from that curse that Gabe Newell has put on the industry. So first of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephane Monsallier and I have three passions in life: technology, gaming, and entrepreneurship. So this is my official picture as a CEO and founder of System in Motion, an IT service company. This is my profile as a gamer. So I am a customer of Valve, of Steam, the company that Gabe Newell has founded. And as an entrepreneur, I'm a trainer in the EO Accelerator chapter in Shanghai. So I have taken on that role of teaching entrepreneur. I'm on the board of the French Chamber in Shanghai, representing entrepreneurs and SME owner and managers. I've been a mentor for many years for China Accelerator, an accelerator in Shanghai dedicated to early stage startup. And with Benoit, we've been co-founders of La French Tech here in Shanghai. Yeah. So Anthony, if you can introduce yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Stephane, for the introduction, as well as Benoit. Hello, everyone. A pleasure to speak here today. My name is Anthony. I previously lived in Silicon Valley for over 5 years, working closely with multiple startups that were mostly in technology. And now I'm working with Jumo Partners as a consultant. I also work with multiple medical projects now, such as a medical device for a dialysis information sector, a hyaluronic acid project to understand the Chinese aesthetic surgery market, a rare disease drug to seeking a commercial partnership and also registration with NMPA. And the reason why I am speaking here today is many projects I have met have expressed deep interest in metaverses. In terms of moving to metaverse trends, I would like to share here some medical applications that could be valuable for today's metaverse topic. And I think I'll yield the rest of the introduction to Benoit.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Okay, so same for me. I will present myself shortly. So I'm a co-founder and a managing partner of Jumo Partner, a company that is dedicated to healthcare projects and allowing those healthcare projects to look for new territory. So European company to go to China, but also Chinese company to look at Europe. One of my tagline is really to say that I build know-how from knowledge. I believe it's strongly important in those days to talk about know-how and not anymore about just knowledge. So this is exactly the thematic of this presentation today, is knowledge acquired by experience and not knowledge acquired from slides that we copied somewhere else. So this is really important to us and we are careful about this. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I run also other businesses. Fengi is an essential oil business. Duno is a marketing agency. Decuple is a data agency. So I'm also involved in those companies. As Stephane said, I'm also have been involved quite a lot in French tech in Shanghai. I also engage with the CCI FC regarding the marketing club. I'm also part of the EU Accelerator. This year I took the chair to lead the EU Accelerator program in Shanghai. And I'm also a founding partner and still a board member of the French Healthcare Alliance with some other people in the room today. So before we start, I wanted to show this slide a little bit. Basically, since Facebook become Meta, we can see a lot of interest for the metaverse field because they have been doing a lot of advertising here. We feel, and I think Stephane can join me on this one, we feel that it's really like the internet back in the mid-90s, really at the beginning where the maturity of the internet was pretty low. Basically, technology was to be invented, business model was to be found, where to be found. So I would say today we are exactly in the same momentum that we were in 95, 96 at the beginning of the internet, where some of us had their first emails. So this is really the beginning. So be careful. We will look today at how mature is the tech. And I think Olivier, we will try to answer your questions about having basically a first introduction to Metaverse, and this is what we are engaging on just now before we deep dive into the healthcare applications. So what we will do, how the presentation is structured. We will talk a little bit about gaming metaverses and integrated metaverses. Stephane has a deep dive into those metaverse visits, a lot of metaverse for us. We will do a summary of those two first. And then after this part is done, we will dive into the medical applications. So I think, Olivier, we will be able to give you the vocabulary for that. In order to start, I will come with the basic concepts that are underlying the metaverses. So that might also help the participant today. So if we look at the key concepts, there are a lot of pillars that makes the metaverses possible. So one of the first side, you have the blockchains. You may have heard about that word blockchain that imply cryptocurrencies, tokens, smart contract. All of those are one big part that allow metaverse to exist, and I will enter in some of those definitions a bit later. Then we have traditional technologies, XR, so everything that is about virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, 3D for gaming, for example. All of those technologies are traditional technologies that exist somewhere else. We also put here social interaction. We were talking about gamification sometimes, but for healthcare, we believe social interactions makes more sense to address it this way. And we believe this is a better wording for the metaverses overall. And then a notion of persistence. That is something that is an idea that you can connect to a digital world, and from one connection to another connection, you will find your same ecosystem, meaning your items will be preserved in the metaverses, for example. So those are a couple of wordings that are important to understand here. I want to introduce tokens. Basically, here for the presentation, what is important for you to understand is basically tokens are unique digital objects. I put it this way. One of the wording that many people use is NFT, non-fungible tokens. So I mean, for this presentation, we don't need to deep dive exactly what means NFT, what means non-fungible. We just can say together that it is an horrible marketing name for the people to understand what it is about. So we are also trying to make it easy. So basically consider it's a unique digital object. The cryptocurrencies. So you have heard about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe some others. Here, the way I tend to define it to make it easy for people to understand is When you were traveling to the US, you had to change your euro, or even back then your franc for the French people, and convert them into US dollar. Now, if you want to travel into the metaverse, you will have to change your money, can be also euro, to change it to some of the currencies that are available in the metaverse you want to visit. So I make really the parallel of a metaverse as a new country that you go to visit. And that country will bring you some value, some services, some fun aspects, some working capabilities, some meetings environments. So if we enter in the definition of the metaverse, so it was created in a novel called Snow Crash, published in 1992, so some years ago. And the vision that the author Neil Stephenson had at that time was a notion of the metaverse, like what we are talking about today, the internet. So it was a unique ecosystem where people can go and travel. Okay? The reality today is we are talking about metaverses with an S, because for the moment, all those different metaverses are not binded together, are not linked together easily. So everything that is about, I would say, social media, online gaming, augmented reality, virtual reality, all those virtual environments, even today we are in a team call, some people consider this as a metaverse. So the definition is quite broad as of today. So it's really interesting to continue to understand how it can merge together. And recently, you might have seen in the news, there is a consortium that was created and funded with many of the big players from the video game industry, from the operating system industry, from e-commerce in China. Alibaba is part of it as well. Baidu is part of it as well in China with the search engines. The only two missing big players are Google and Apple from this consortium, but those kind of consortium can maybe lead to standardizations and potentially in the future allow to have this notion of unique metaverse. So now I hope this introduction helps you to grab a little bit of the vocabulary that we will use in the presentation. So as I mentioned earlier, we will talk about gaming integrated metaverse before diving into medical applications. So first, gaming metaverse. We studied those different gaming metaverse with Stephane. I think overall we had a list of about 120 different metaverses, not only gaming. So we from the list, we tried to understand which one were gaming, which one were general ones, or even commercial ones. For the one on the gaming ones, we found that basically to have a good NFT game, we needed three elements. One is a good design, because without a good design, it's not really engaging for the people to participate. A proof of experience, so something that was allowing the people to show off that they were having that experience into a game. And then some fun. We need as well to be entertained, otherwise we are not engaging into the action neither. And in terms of business models, we found two models that are actually used. One is called the play to earn model, and the other one are NFT card games, so collectible cards that has always existed since many years, and it's just a digital version of the collectible cards. Now I will let Stephane dive into the play to earn model a little bit more. You had nice experiences to try this, Stephane. So I let you introduce us. What was your experience?
Yes. So out of the 120 metaverses that we've identified, I visited approximately 10 of them and isolated 2 that are not directly related to healthcare. There are actually none that are related to healthcare, but to illustrate different aspects of the metaverses. So this one is called Axie Infinity, and from the look of it, it looks pretty much like a free-to-play computer game, which is an old model that was invented in China, where you download the game, you start to play for free, and then if you want to get more involved into the game, or if you want some accelerator, then you're going to put some money inside the game to accelerate. So we looked into the business model, next slide, and try to illustrate the difference between the free-to-play model and the play-to-earn model. So on the left side, you have the free-to-play model. most of the user, they don't spend any money. So this is the flat part of the curve. You have most of the users, they use that free game and they play for it. And you have a few users who spend a little bit of money, and you have a very small amount of users who spend a lot of money. And this is how a gaming company make the next game. So they take that money that they earn from the game and they make the next one. So there's an upfront investment. They do it, they put it for free, and a small fractions of the players are financing the next game. Now, with cryptocurrency, tokens, and smart contracts, there's the opportunity to create a different model, which is the play to earn model. In this model, most of the users are going to pay to play that game. So it's a form of revenue. So that's why it's shown as positive. And a small fraction of the players are actually going to be rewarded for playing. And this is where the cryptocurrency and the tokens are being used, so that the players who are putting money in the system, some of that money is being transferred to the people who are finding a way to make a living out of it, or maybe make it a profession to work inside the game and play to earn. Hence the term play to earn. Why we think this could be relevant for the medical industry? So we put it back to some of the initiatives where maybe some of the users may be rewarded in a medical trial or other types of healthcare activity, and this model could be applied. And thanks to token and cryptocurrency, the whole thing could be fully automated. So meaning the maintenance could be lower. So this is the dream of the play to earn model. And Axie Infinity is by far the game that is most advanced into most successful and most advanced. So now let's look at the reality. So first of all, the onboarding. So I'm not going to go through the whole process, but this is what my onboarding process looked like when I decided to play Axie Infinity. And the lesson there is like, if you don't already own cryptocurrency, if you don't know anything about the cryptocurrency, if you don't already have an online wallet, there's absolutely zero chance to onboard users into this game. So this is a very important point. In getting people into Metaverses today is only possible out of the population that already understand crypto and is already involved into cryptocurrency. So if you have a target, audience, a target customers, or target people that you want to target, know that today in Metaverse, if you want to get them into a Metaverse, you're only going to get the overlap of your target customers or patients, and the overlap with people that already understand and are already crypto savvy or crypto enthusiasts. So second point, how much did it cost? So it cost me 84 euros to be able to play. So in order to play that game, you need to buy those three small animals into the form of tokens, into the form of NFTs. The problem is that from euro to buying those NFTs, 35% of that money was lost into fees, buying the first crypto, transferring through the bridge, getting into their own chain because they have their own chain, and through the market. So there's a huge waste of money, and this is a huge issue in cryptocurrencies. And the more layers of cryptos they have, the more is lost into fees that have no added value into the business model. And remember, the promise of this game is you maybe can be a professional player and maybe you can make money out of it. You have to understand that you lose 35% one way, and most likely you're going to lose 35% the other way. Yeah. So finally, we try to rank those metaverses. So we created a scorecard. So as a game, again, we try to evaluate it for what they are. So from the gaming category, we give it an 8 out of 10. It's a good 2D game. So it's not 3D, it's not virtual reality or anything, but it still qualifies as a metaverse. Onboarding 1 out of 10, it was absolutely horrible. I would never have gone through unless I had to prepare it for this webinar. No fun for creator because there's no creator economy inside this metaverse. Fun for player, 7 out of 10. It's a good free-to-play game. Now, important thing, viability. So whenever you decide to go into a metaverse, or whenever you decide to create a project as a company into the metaverse, you are using it as a platform. So it's important to know if this platform is going to be there for a long time or not. And there are two problems with Axie Infinity. So the first one, it's a Ponzi scheme. Why is it a Ponzi scheme? The only reason that some players can make money is when new players are coming in, because you are forced to buy new tokens, the way I was, in order to play. So this is exactly the definition of a Ponzi scheme. The people who are already in the scheme make money when new players are coming into the game. And if at one point nobody new is coming in, nobody is making money anymore, and the whole thing explodes. They are aware of this problem and are trying to switch their model. The second problem is there was a heist. So somebody found a security issue in their blockchain and made out with what at that time tokens and cryptos for the equivalent of $600 million. Of course, then the price of their token plummeted, and it's a big dent, and it really lowers the trust into that ecosystem. On the social side, they claim 2.8 million monthly users, and that's probably accurate because every time I went in and I wanted to play, I found other players. So there are a lot of people in there, and again, it is most likely the most successful crypto game or metaverse in the gaming industry. And then CoinCap. So CoinCap is the equivalent of a market cap for a traditional company, is how much the total amount of tokens that they've issued is worth. So when we did the presentation the first time, it was $9 million. When we did the presentation the second time with Benoit, it was 5 million. It went down to 900 million, and now it's back up at 1.2 billion. So yes, there is a crisis. There's an economic crisis. There's a global crypto crisis, but that means that the ability for this company to finance itself, but also the rewards that were given to the users, were divided by 8. So whenever you put something, when you use it as a platform, you depend a lot on these elements and these topics. So that's it for Axie Infinity. Pretty far from the healthcare industry, but we will see that a lot of those elements are common to every metaverse. So Benoit, if we can move to integrated.
Yes, thank you, Stephane, for the experience here. So let's dive into what we call integrated metaverse here. So one of the metaverse that we can consider as integrated today is called Decentraland. It's maybe a word that some of you have heard about. Basically, we can consider metaverses as operating system that we have today. So today you are using your Apple computer with Mac OS, or you are using your iPhone with iOS, or you are using your Android phone or Windows computer with those OS. We could foresee a metaverse as an operating system, giving you access to different type of services and products. So if you think it this way, Decentraland is a great achievement for the moment in what is closer to that model. On the other end, what we also could foresee with this is that people will casually enter the metaverse like they are going on the internet today. So you need to buy new clothes, you can go in the metaverse. You need to have a meeting with one of your colleagues, you go in the metaverse. You need to go to the theater with your friends and watch a movie, you go in the metaverse. So typically things that we could do on the internet today, we will be able to do them in the metaverse in the future, but we believe we can do more as well. Still the thing that will happen there, it will be what I call a content war. It means that in order to attract people, you need to provide good quality content for the people to engage with you. So if you don't provide interesting things, people will not show up, basically. So Stephane, you have been into Decentraland for us, so I let you explain what was your experience.
So on the top left corner, you can see my avatar. So I think you're familiar with the concept of avatar. And in Decentraland, so it's a character that is not supposed to resemble me too much, or is supposed to resemble me, doesn't matter. And then there are some free items that you can choose from, shoes, clothes. And of course, then this is where it's becoming interesting. I could buy different clothes that are unique to me, and I can create that avatar. And I feel where it's going to be really interesting, and this is why Decentraland is very, very big on the fashion industry. I could wear clothes that don't exist. I could wear clothes made of fire, clothes made of water, things that don't exist in real life. If I go in the metaverse just to wear the same polo and the same shoes as today, it's interesting, but it's not as interesting as all the possibilities that the digital world could offer. And then on the top right, something very interesting with Decentraland that I didn't see in any other metaverse. There's a small robot that is going to help me. So it's going to help you, for example, Olivier, if you're new to metaverse and you're not big into gaming, how do you navigate that new world? And I think it's a really nice attention that they put there to have a tutorial and get people engaged. Then on the bottom, these are two examples of commerce in the metaverse. So for example, on the left side, that Pink Panther, I actually can buy it. It's there, it's sitting there. You see there's also a car there that I could buy. And on the right side, that's something that is a little bit less subtle. I could buy a piece of clothes. So that would be something that I could wear on my avatar. And there's a big banner, and it's interesting in terms of marketing that we're going back to display advertising, and we make it white and shiny to attract the user to click. So I can go in the metaverse, I can buy stuff. What else can I do? Next slide. I can go to a concert. So there was so in the metaverse, there's a place where you know what's happening and where you know where the events are, and then you can teleport into that event. So there was a Boy George concert. What does a Boy George concert look like in the metaverse? So there's a screen and there's a video that is playing there, and there was nobody. So there's a difference between live events where a lot of people are coming in, but once you put it into the metaverse, it doesn't cost anything for this video to run in loop. Yeah. On the right side, there are some games. So there's a game with Meteorite. There's a game to ride the dragons. So I can buy clothes. I can go to concerts, which are basically videos that are playing out there, and I can play games. What are the other things that I can do in the metaverse, in Decentraland? I can go to the casinos. Every time I went to Decentraland, I could not find people around playing games. I didn't find anybody in those empty theaters where the videos they are playing. But every time I went into the metaverse, people were in the casinos, and there were always people gambling in the casinos. And I think this brings us back to what the metaverse is today, at least today, what I've noticed too. Crypto enthusiasts and people who like gambling. And the main reason for them to go into metaverse is to maybe, if they're in a state in the US where gambling is forbidden, they are attracted with that. And this is the kind of people you find primary in metaverse today. So again, when you're thinking metaverse and when you're thinking into creating a project in there, you have to keep in mind of who are attracted, who will have the ability to go there, and what would be the reason for them to go there. But I think it's really telling that every time I go there, I go through empty spaces that are interested, that are fun, that are creative, but then I only find people there playing poker. Yeah. So to rate a little bit the Decentraland, so the scorecard we came out with. So in terms of graphics, so it's a 3D world. It's quite good and fluid. I've only played into those environments using a browser, so without glasses, without going to VR. Decentraland is working on a dedicated client, but on the web interface is quite nice and fluid. The onboarding was good. The only thing you need is a MetaMask to go into there, but you also can go as a guest. And the fact that they put a friendly robot to guide you through the navigation is good. It's fun for creators. So for example, the car and the clothes that you saw there that were up to sell were not created by a company called Decentraland. They were created by users, people who bought a piece of land and decide to sell their creation out there. And this is the promise of Decentraland. Anybody can go there, anybody can create something, and everybody can put it to sell. The fun for players, it was fine. The gameplay were pretty simple. The world is pretty large, but again, everybody goes to the casino. Opportunity for seller because there's this commerce element. The problem is that you can go there, you can be interested in a piece of art or a piece of clothes. When you click on it, you're being brought to another platform that is called OpenSea. So the buyer for e-commerce, which is one of the type of metaverse and that we find in integrated metaverses, it's not a fully immersive experience, in my opinion. Viability is quite good for Decentraland. For now, the persistent is pretty expensive, but they are moving to a new technology that will make it cheaper. On the social side, so there were people around only in casinos. In terms of market cap, same story. Their coin cap was divided by 7 on their own cryptocurrency Mana, and they are moving to a new currency that is called Mavic, supported by the platform Polygon. And this is to solve the problem that we saw on Axie Infinity, to solve the very high fees, very high transaction fees. So Polygon is one solution that will make the persistence cheaper, the fees lower, and people are putting a lot of hope on that layer 2 cryptocurrency that sits on top of Ethereum. Yeah. So that's it for Decentraland. Now, what are the potential medical applications? Yeah. Benoit, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Stephane, for all this this introduction and having visiting some of those metaverses for us. Now we will dive into the meat of the meeting, I would say, with the medical applications. Many of you are from the medical sector. So first things, when we look at the healthcare sector, what really struck us was the fact that most of the investments in the past that were related to healthcare and were potentially going toward metaverses were done basically around what we call mixed reality. So augmented reality, virtual reality, or XR, the different type of mixed realities. This is really an investment-driven market, similar to many healthcare markets, but it was really related to high investments that we have found. And some investments are coming from the metaverse players, like Sandbox, for example, is one of the big video game investors in the metaverse, and they also invest into XR reality in the healthcare sector. So in order to understand those projects, Anthony, same as Stephane, spent some time for us to deep dive and look at different projects and visit some of the projects. So Anthony, I let you the floor.
Okay, thank you, Benoit. So now I would like to present some current medical applications in so-called X reality. We typically see these 3 X realities components from many medical applications examples. And these realities may refer to you, or maybe you have the knowledge already, virtual reality, VR, augmented reality, AR, and mixed reality, MR. And as we can see a few medical application examples from virtual reality section on the left-hand side, with the 3 pictures depicted with examples, we see that VR can be helpful ranging from patients easing discomfort during the surgery before and after, surgical planning using projected simulated organs for the physicians, to medical training that is being previously done by AAOS for medical students to practice simulated surgery with haptic gloves, reducing complications during the actual surgeries. So if you may be wondering if you're interested in particular applications from examples, please feel free to let us know after a meeting or during a QA session. Likewise, for the augmented reality, reality really adds the object perspective to enhance the experience. We also see some interesting application utilizing reality technology ranging from treatments such as Acuvan, medical education to remote treatment. And mixed reality similarly is really mixing the virtual reality and augmented reality, and they can be really helpful for rehabilitation such as XR Health or new drug development such as Nano. And next, I would like to shift the focus to the 3 projects we selected, especially for this conference, that we feel are closer to the metaverse, we believe. The first example is actually from Sansom Clinic from California, which allows children to play their favorite games before surgery or during vaccinations. Actually, studies were done and also show that it is effective to ease anxiety for the children with the headsets on, comparing with the ones that without. So how can this go toward? If you recall the memories from the pillars that I think Benoit was mentioning earlier, From the social aspect of persistence gameplay, children could potentially opt to play their favorite games during injections or before surgery. Using VR headsets, children can play their preferred games, or they can actually connect to their preferred metaverse worlds. We add an example here, Decentraland, just to have an idea how this may be feasible. Maybe not for the casino part. This is not the best for kids. So for a good additional pillar in this case, could be just adding one social factor, and which allows children to be connected to the metaverses that are already available somewhere. If you go to the next example. The next example, we believe it is already a sort of a metaverse concept in medical. Mind VR allows seniors to connect with each other or loved ones from distance. As you may be aware, especially in China during COVID lockdown, many elderly care centers were simply just not available for the relatives to visit. And with social connections and this VR technology, it really brings their siblings closer and their loved ones to them. So we think this is a direct example of VR to metaverse world, actually. And to be frank, and this is the closest example we found in many applications in medical to metaverse right now. And we do also see a rise in investment, as what Benoit was saying, for elderly social connection applications such as housekeeping app, Tianyu Kanjia, it was launched in China. And we believe that with more readily accessible smartphone hardwares for the seniors, it is also expected to have a real business traction in the next coming years. The last example, if we go to the next page, we found is very interesting in the gamification aspect or even play to earn model. So how many of you here heard of Folded? If you heard of it, just press 1. If not, just ignore. Yeah, okay, perfect. Just ignore my message. But for those who don't know, Folded is a famous and more than 10-year-old application that allows players to solve the protein folding solutions online. And researchers could actually analyze the highest scoring solutions and bring these solutions to real life and really applicable for real world. However, we see a downside for the Folded is this is a 2D platform, as you can see from the picture example, and it could be outdated. So we believe here it could be very interesting to work with a company such as Nanom, a 3D mixed reality-based concept, which was introduced earlier in the presentation, and also adding a play-to-earn model here. So in the aftermath, people can actually take the advantage of solving real problems with potential rewards. For example, with the token technology, cryptocurrency technology that was mentioned before, that the pharma companies can actually reward those tokens to the players who actually have the best or better solutions for the protein problems. So we also believe that this could be a sustainable business model, unlike maybe X-Infinity, which was essentially a Ponzi scheme. The play-to-earn model here can be actually a reality for solving real issues for real pharma companies in real near future. I think this is the end of the medical applications. If you have any questions, feel free to have it at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Anthony. So we will just have a short conclusion, and of course you can start to have some of your reactions or questions in the chat already, and we will take some time to answer your question after. So as a conclusion, basically during the research that we have conducted, especially on medical applications, we found that there was basically a kind of framework for application or company to decide to invest in, I would say, call that XR, so VR, AR, or MR technology. Basically, when you start from a problem in the real life, what kind of technology could you apply in the XR technology to solve what kind of applications for the patient or for the professionals? So as it's not exactly the topic of today, this slide is available and we will be able to share them to you a bit later if you're interested in that specific topic. But as you have seen, what we really have discovered is that those XR reality are, we believe, the gate to enter Metaverse for medical applications. Here, at the beginning of the presentation, we presented you a couple of pillars that were supporting the Metaverse. we have seen that in healthcare, the XR pillar is the one that is actually the most developed today. But we also believe that if we add up some of those other pillars, then we get closer to the metaverse. So as Anthony has really described some of the project that he has dived in, we can see that some of them added, for example, some social interactions. The first case that you shared with us for the basically digital sedation. So digital sedation can be done, but could add a little bit of social interaction into it to have a bit more engagement from the player, and then the player to be less stressed or feeling, let's say, the pain that they have. In the example that you mentioned, there is a company doing complete surgeries using this kind of techniques, not having the social interactions, but using digital sedation only as well. Then we look at the other example with Foldit, where we add, for example, the tokenization or the idea that you can pay the people for the work that they are doing for the pharmacists, for the pharma company, for example. So by adding another pillars of finding a way to pay people, I think this could be also an interesting pillar to add. So in order to come with a framework and a methodology for you today, we try to find an approach for the medical sector to go for, I would say, proof of concept or pilot projects in toward the metaverse, I would say, not necessarily in the metaverse, but toward the metaverse. So first, we put here to select an existing model of mixed reality or XR for care. So something that is already existing, has some proven validity. And then to decide and choose what other metaverse pillar we can add to this to make it closer to the metaverse. So exactly like what Anthony did with some of the example. Then you need to be careful with technologies, I would say. We discussed, and I think, Stephane, you introduced a lot of different technological words. Some are blockchains, some are technologies that are around it. We have to be careful with those technologies. You also show us that some of the technologies that are existing have their coin cap fluctuating quite fast. And recently we have seen some of the project dying. So if you have decided to invest in a technology that has passed away, then basically you are losing it. So it's also really important to be careful in those technology selections. We put finance here because if you go, for example, like the play to earn model, those blockchains and those remunerations needs to be really finance guided. And it's really important to understand how you will pay people. If you pay them in cryptocurrency, can they convert that money? There is a lot of constraints regarding tax as well. In many countries, the tax are different around cryptocurrencies, for example, or even in some countries, sometimes illegal. So it's really important to understand that aspect. And the legal aspect, so I mentioned already illegal in my previous sentence, but there is an aspect of legal. If you go, for example, towards smart contract, and that might be something that happened, for example, in the Foldit case, to have a reward for people. Like we could think about having a token, an NFT, to reward people that have found some successful cases, for example. They might have a smart contract attached to this. So you need the legal people to help you to create those smart contracts that can be implemented inside the NFT. And then finally, you need to define the ambition you have with this pilot project. And this is pretty classic regarding what are the targets you want to achieve, how big you want to go, how fast you want to go. So this is a classic questioning for pilot projects. And so that's it for today. In terms of content, we kept 45 minutes for a Q&A sessions. I know, Stephane, you are usually looking at those questions carefully. Yeah.
So we already have a few questions. So I will take the first one for Jeremy, even if it's not a question but a statement. Okay. So for the protein folding problem, so actually Foldit, that project is a research project. And the objective of this research project is to prove that not AI, but brute force, because modeling of proteins and the chemical component and the electromagnetic environment of in that protein of the atoms, there is a solution. There's an optimal solution, and the objective of Foldit is to prove that the intuition of gamers, people who have a brain that has been trained already to think in 3D or to interact in a 3D environment, could eliminate very quickly some of the unlikely path and could lead to an optimization that is better than brute force algorithm. Now, if you're thinking AI, because your statement was about AI, I think there are a couple of issues to apply AI to this one, and I'm not sure if it was tried. So first of all, to train an AI, you need a lot of data. So actually, Foldit is collecting data, but I don't think it's collecting enough data to train an AI, because you really need a lot of sampling. And then AI is not magical, so AI is applicable to a large set of problems, and they are pretty good at multi-dimensional problems that have constraints. But I'm afraid that the protein folding problem is not continuous in that space. And then AI is very bad at that. You know, if you have a lot of variation, so yeah, like you try to fold the protein one way, and then you hit a threshold, and then suddenly the success function have a jump, or like is not that continuous. AIs really hate that, so they may not be that good at protein folding. Yeah.
Hello, Stephane, long time. My point with AI is because actually there was this news regarding this AI who discovered, like, say, the AI made a protein that never been like even thought by human beings, and so it was like a new you know, like a new thing, because this AI came up with something that we never imagined ourselves. So, but yeah, I totally agree, and I think that you're right. The combination of both human brains and AI maybe is the best combination.
And your second question, Jeremy, was can the hospital of tomorrow be available on the metaverse? So, Benoit,
yeah, I try to because we talk about many things here: the NFT, the blockchain, the metaverse, and the VR. So it's all ecosystem, and I think when everything will be mature, it will be ready. But when we talk about metaverse, usually we think about this persistent universe as itself, and not just a game in VR and so on. And we saw many applications in the industry, for instance, where you modelize all your factory and so on to improve processes and so on. And we know how hospital it's full of processes. Benoit, you mentioned all the finance and the legal and the contracts, and this is where everything is happening inside the hospital. So this is one part, but also in terms of patient journey. How do you see the patient journey inside the metaverse? Actually, like because maybe some of the diagnosis, clinical examination can be done remotely in the future. So, any insight on that?
I can try to answer first. Maybe Anthony, with also all the project that you have visited and heard about, you might have some compliments to add to this. I think in terms of simulation and process simulations, there are already existing models, and it's not necessarily linked to metaverses. Where I see, and there it's really I foresee, and it's more brainstorming now than a real answer. It could be basically using some of the metaverses as a test platform. So if you inflow a large amount of people and you try to see and test and stress your system, then you can use that. So you could gamify it to have people to come inside and then stressing the system to see how it's working or how it's flowing. So and this you could do it digitally pretty easily compared to have people to actually come to your real hospitals. So simulate a COVID crisis and what is the impact on the hospitals. This you could do it online maybe as a test run. In terms of patient journey, there are some I would say we have talked about that in the past in some other conferences. about the internet hospital. So there are already some applications that are possible or available, I would say, online, and that could be merged into a metaverse. Gustavo, I allow Gustavo in. So when we look at this, I was thinking a bit earlier this morning about pharmacy. For example, so this is one part that is available in the hospitals. For example, we have Walmarts who created something that is really similar to a grocery store in the metaverse. So you really walk and feel inside the metaverse the same way. We could imagine a digital pharmacy pretty similar in the metaverse, where you go there, you can discuss, interact with some of the people there that could be real pharmacist people that could give you advice online directly, and you could pick and pack some of the also parapharmacy kind of items directly in the store, and showing your prescriptions to have access to certain type of drugs as well. So this could be, for example, a shopping experience that could be in the metaverse. Today, the shopping experience are average. You have shown a little bit of those examples, Stephane, and we have worked a bit more on that topic because it's still pretty average experience. Other than that, we also know that rehabilitation for senior is also something that is coming, and this could have a pass in the metaverse. Especially, there was one topic that has been mentioned to me, is the fact that senior people don't feel their space the same way as they were younger. So they tend to bound themselves because they are afraid about touching the ceiling. And actually, the metaverses and the 3D reality, like virtual reality, can help them to refound their position, reassess the space around them. So this could be typical application we can have. And I also have another case with rehabilitation with people that have lost members, like a leg or a arm. There are also applications to help them in rehabilitation in that area. And then another topic that is working pretty well online is psychology. You can have a lot of therapy sessions that can be done online. You don't necessarily need to be face-to-face, but it also has been proven that having a 3D environment for those helps the people to be more engaged in the conversation than what we are experiencing today. So those are a little bit of examples that I have. I don't know, Anthony, if you have some compliments to that.
I only have one additional one. You mentioned something in remote treatment. Actually, it was mentioned probably in one of the slides. There was actually a team from University of Alabama back in 2013. It was called Viper. They were trying to do the remote surgery using Google Glass. So in this way, remote treatment is not something conceptually new. It has been done before.
Okay, so that we can go also. Stephane, you wanted to react as well on this one, or you had other questions?
No, so I think you cover Eric's question about commerce in the metaverse. Okay. So it's a bit clunky now, and it will be fixed. I'm pretty confident it will be fixed. But then again, it will be a new form of e-commerce, and at the end of the day, you need physical products. So it will be the digital to physical. Yeah. Next question. So Eric is asking a question about China. So is China a good target to try? So today, no, because cryptocurrency tokens are forbidden in China. So there's no way to have a product in China. Now I have a conditional prediction. When China comes out with its digital currency, and there were announcements already a few years back that China is going for a digital currency, a national digital currency. So when the digital currency is there, and if this digital currency supports smart contracts, so smart contracts, we had it as one of the pillars. So smart contracts are fully automated contracts that don't require anybody to be executed, and they are binding. And they are automatically executed inside the blockchain, meaning whenever you go into this contract, it will be executed on its precondition, which pose a lot of legal issues because the blockchain is going to execute it anyway. So when China comes out with its digital currency, and if it supports smart contract, then China will be in a great position to create metaverses based on official cryptocurrency with wide adoption because the whole country will have it. It will be integrated in Alipay wallets and WeChat wallets, and it will be implemented with low fees. So the barrier of entry that we have currently in the traditional, in the metaverse that are using crypto, I mean, independent and decentralized crypto, they have high fees, low volume of transaction, and the onboarding goes from tough to terrible. But in China, there's a possibility that this won't be the case because it will be an official currency, will be supported by the government. The transaction fee will be lower, and the onboarding is going to be really easy because you will be able to spend it from your WeChat wallet and your Alipay wallet. So when these two conditions are there in China, then you can then we can talk again about metaverse project in China, and they will be very different from the one in the rest of the world because of the decoupling, but also because the precondition will be very different. So these were my comments in China. I don't know, Anthony and Benoit, if you have another point of view.
I think it's answer part of it. I still believe China has moved on metaverse a little bit. If we don't take the pillar of cryptocurrency as it is in the rest of the world, there are some, I would say, 3D environments. They are pretty strong at online gaming, so they can come with some systems that could be closed and that could help the healthcare sector, not having necessarily the blockchain part. So it's also maybe one way we could look at it and have some application. I would say I think Olivier, you're asking an additional question on the training or the sedation, and asking if there is a real need of the metaverse versus just the VR. I think it's also related to a bit to that questions indirectly. There is to have a need to it. So if the metaverse component brings value and add up to the system, then yes, it makes sense. If it doesn't, then of course you can keep the current technology and make it happen. So digital sedation, for example, we have seen has shown some value with the VR. We were bringing, and I think Anthony has brought that idea, saying that if we bring social aspect to it, is it more efficient or not? Then you will need clinical trial or validation to see that it's actually bringing more value or less value. As of today, I'm not able to say if that social component is a good one to bring in order to, I mean, for the medical application in itself. So it was more kind of a brainstorming, adding one of the pillar to that question as well. So in the same way, China is not having all the pillars available today, but they have some of the pillars that are actually available and we could potentially use. Anthony, any reaction to that?
It's pretty much covered, and also we do see the investments going toward hardwares, especially such as one of those companies that were heavily financed for the goggles. So we're definitely seeing the metaverse on the trend for China.
Mm-hmm. There was a comment from Jeremy on medical education. So Anthony, you already you showed some of the medical training based on VR. So what could be the additional pillar in the metaverse on medical training?
Let me recall back to the slides. For the medical training part, I think it could be also added value for play to earn even. Can be a good incentive for pharma companies to train their employees. I don't know if you had any remarks on that, Benoit.
I was speaking myself more on the kind of education to like not to employees, but more like to healthcare professionals. Because as I mentioned, you have the SME points, those points that all the doctors and nurses, they need to gain every year, like they have to comply, with to be up to date, I have to say. And so as long as you have this kind of points, grades you need to take, I think there is a very strong value actually to use a smart contract and tokens actually to ensure that because usually the points they are provided by medical societies or organization, and so they can validate, like the proof of work and so on. They can validate that this person, they attended this event, so they can get the points, and you can have like a clear view of all of the medical education you had before, and also in terms of business model between the teacher, who can be any kind of speakers. It can be a doctor, but also it can be someone like from the industry providing this kind of class. You can have this play to earn system as well. Like the more you have people, the more you get paid or whatever. So I think it can be very valuable. And from my personal research, I think this is where maybe it's the most practical way as of today to, especially in the COVID time, or where all the high level KOL are not available to travel on site. I think this could be a way, especially in countries like Philippines, they want medical points all the time. So yeah.
I think what you're talking about, Jeremy, I mean, it relates to some of the blockchain projects that are starting to happen. There are more projects on the financial side because it needs to be an industry blockchain. Right? It needs to be recognized, because you can rely a little bit on the global global evaluation of the quality of the course, and is this relevant? And because when you open up and you really decentralize, those medical associations are not there to grade the training and validate the quality. So there is something to do there. And this type of projects can be really good inside the blockchain, because they don't depend on one association. They can be worldwide. And then an association may have an issue, or they may run out of funds, but then the blockchain is going to survive, and people don't lose their points. It will be also very good to recognize those kind of training cross-border. Because I know it's really difficult for medical professionals to go from country A to country B. But the prerequisite for that is that this is an industry, this is a worldwide industry blockchain project that everybody recognizes and everybody contributes to. And it has to start. So you say maybe it could start in one country, maybe the Philippines could go there, and then little by little other countries could go around. And it can be there. And because it's already, and this combined with the VR, then you have two of the pillars: the decentralization, the smart contracts, the blockchain, and the XR. And this is where you can call it, then it's a specialized metaverse, and you put those components together. So I think it follows nicely the framework that we came out with. Were there other questions? I mean, there were comments of people leaving and saying goodbye. So bye-bye.
Yeah. I think we are almost on time. I don't know. Yeah, if we can take maybe one last questions, and then we can release the people.
So there was a question on medical imaging from Eric, but Jeremy said it was his capstone project. So maybe Jeremy, you can connect with Eric and you can forward your capstone project.
Well, I cannot, unfortunately, but yes, it was on medical imaging and the use of artificial intelligence in medical imaging in China. And actually, you covered this part already, but one of the challenges in China is about the regulatory framework, the NMPA, the data security, and so on. And I think this is maybe as MNCs. I think the barrier is way too high, actually, for us to come into China for the metaverse, or even like for AI in China. If you are not like China with all the China 2025 coming, and I don't know, I see a lot of burdens to come.
And so one thing important to understand about the blockchain technology is quite expensive and quite slow, and it's not really well designed to store a large amount of data. Yeah. So it's secure. So the data that is stored in the blockchain is absolutely secure. It's impossible to compromise, and it's impossible to alter it. But then, if we're thinking imaging, that's way too much data, and it will be super expensive to put in the blockchain. So it has to be put off chain. It could be secure, it could be linked, and there could be processes to link that image to a patient identification. They could use it, but it's quite difficult to do. So I think we're still a little bit far away from there. and probably not the area where you will see the most benefit. I think as if I want to summarize a bit the question and the topic, so I think medical education, there's great potential there. As Benoit said, on the psychology side, on the easing the pain or the anxiety of the patient. So again, as we said in the presentation, everywhere there's XR and there's VR, there could be addition to one of those pillars to bring it one step further and leverage one of the old or new technology in combination and really get inspiration from what is happening in the metaverse. Be creative. Remember, it's innovation. It can fail. You have to be ready for your project to fail. You have to make sure you don't choose a platform, metaverse, that is going to collapse because its coin cap has been crushed and they don't have any money to finance. But it's pretty exciting. And as Benoit said in the introduction, I mean, we are at the birth of something new, and that could be revolutionary and exciting.
Yes, thanks, Stephane. You almost summarized the full presentation in your last couple of sentences. I will thank you all. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. This session has been recorded. We will certainly share it in the coming days through one way or another. So we will keep you informed about it. If you have additional questions, we are happy to talk about this topic with you. We have a couple of emails. Some of you in the room now still have also other ways to contact us, I'm sure. So thanks a lot for today's participation. Thanks a lot for your questions and the debate at the end. Have a good evening for some in China. Good day for the rest in Europe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.